On this week's episode of Hockey Inside Out, why aren't we seeing more of Daniel Carr, and will Marc Bergevin be allowed to rebuild the team? Welcome to this week's show. I'm Adam Susser. Joining me today in studio is Stu Cowan, CBC Daybreak's Jessica Rusnak, and Mr. Chris Nilan back in the fold. Here's what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. Number one, if Canadiens owner Jeff Molson allows Marc Bergevin to make trade deadline moves, does that mean he'll be back next season? Number two, Juliens says the Canadiens keep making the same mistakes. Is that on the players or the coaching staff? Number three, why has defenseman Jerabek become a regular healthy scratch? Number four, why hasn't Daniel Carr gotten more ice time this year? And number five, what do you think Harry Price would have to say now about Marc Bergevin's preseason declaration that the Canadiens' blue line is better this year than last year? Let's start the show. With Valentine's Day having come and gone, I know many Montreal Canadiens fans were left brokenhearted when St. Valentine didn't bring them the gift they truly wanted, the firing of Marc Bergevin. Well, there's always Easter. Do people get presents on Easter?
Lots of chocolates.
Lots? Yeah. Okay, maybe the Easter Bunny will bring the Habs.
A chocolate-covered center.
Yeah.
Okay. With the trade deadline just days away, it's looking like Marc Bergevin isn't going anywhere anytime soon, or at least not before Monday. So the question is, if Jeff Molson allows Marc Bergevin to make trade deadline moves, does that automatically mean he'll be returning as the general manager of the Canadiens next season?
Well, it looks like he's definitely going to be around at the trade deadline. Whether he makes any moves or not, we'll see. But it certainly looks like he's going to be around next season. I think all the talk, the trade rumors going around, and I think they have to do something to just even for the fan base, which is getting a little upset by Monday's trade deadline. So I think he's going to be around next year.
Can they really do anything though that'll make a difference? That
Not for this season. I mean, this season is over. But I mean, a guy like Thomas Plekanec, and even with him, you want to get something for him, but here's a guy who spent his whole career here, and do you want to, and wants to come back? Do you want to upset him? And so it's
with that, he can be traded at this point and then come back and sign with
if
the
he wants to, but
yeah.
His pride might be hurt if they deal
hurt.
him, and he might not want to come back, and feelings are hurt. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does.
Is Bergevin going to start caring about players' feelings all of a sudden?
I don't. Well, maybe he should a little bit. I don't know.
I think the entry draft will be interesting if he's still the GM then, because that's kind of like the second point when a lot of people who have potential free agents or players that they want to, get something back for, if they don't get what they want at the trade deadline, they say, you know what, let's hold on to him and see what we can get when draft time comes. So that will be the most interesting tale, is like once the season's done, if Marc Bergevin is still here, will he then take over for the draft, or will he be let go at the end of the season and they'll hire a new GM to start planning the new Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah, there's really no indication that he's going to be let go. I mean, other than the fact that they're in the position they're in. Everybody thinks he should be let go, but this ownership seems like they're content with him right now. Maybe they know something we don't know, and that could be very well true. Now, if he's here at the draft, does he have something up his sleeve at the draft? Does Mr. Molson know something that we don't know? And that could be that big sentiment. Is it something to do with Tavares? I think he got something up his sleeve. Now, Mr. Molson, and I know people are calling for his firing, and he's made some terrible moves. There's no question about it. But just maybe Mr. Molson is waiting to the end of the season if he wants to hire someone new. Maybe that person that he maybe covets to come in here and do that job isn't available right now.
Yeah,
and maybe he's just going to hold tight, and we'll see what happens. But and just maybe he's okay with Marc Bergevin. So, yeah, it's got to play out for us to know. And I know a lot of people are upset with the job Bergevin's done because where the team is, and rightly so. But Mr. Molson, he's the guy who makes the decision.
Well, the Canadiens are very good at keeping secrets, and you might be onto something there, because maybe he does have somebody in mind, and maybe he's talking to him also and feeling him out, and maybe before Bergevin makes any moves, there's a discussion with somebody else. But it also wouldn't surprise me if they do nothing at the trade deadline, because there is no reason for them to rush into making anything. This season is over. There's no reason to make a bad deal at the trade deadline when you might be able to make a better deal, as Jess said, at the draft or later on in the summer or on July 1st. So I wouldn't be shocked if they do nothing.
Well, if they do have something that we don't know, let us in on the secret, please. After Tuesday night's 3-2 loss in overtime against Philadelphia. Claude Julien was quoted in the media as saying the team continues to make the same mistakes. Do you think the onus is on the players or on the coaching staff?
It's on both. You know, I mean, players have to. You can't continually make the same mistakes, and then keep getting ice time. So if these guys are making the mistakes, keep getting ice time, then it's on the coaches. And it's on the players to understand what the coaching staff wants. And I'm sure they made it clear with a lot of players what they want. And if you can't get it over the course of how many games now, 50 games, whatever it is, then I'm sorry, you should be playing pond hockey.
I'm surprised that a coach like Julien, who has 4 more years, his job security's there, that he hasn't made a bench like a Drouin or a Pacioretty or made them like the healthy scratches.
Well, the Jordy Ben one.
They're always the same. Jordy Ben was the reason they were losing.
It's always the same.
It's always, and I'm sure the players see that too. They're looking like Nicolas Deslauriers. I'm a healthy scratch. What did I do wrong? Or,
it's always.
And for a coach who has so much
guys.
tenure left on his contract, I'm surprised that he hasn't thrown a hammer down. And I think a lot of it is on the coaching. One of the reasons I think this team needs to rebuild is it seems like the players that are there have tuned this coach out in some ways. And he's there for 4 more years and $20 million more. So I don't think Claude Julien is going anywhere. And I wonder if he needs some fresh players to work with.
That apparently was the problem with Therrien as well. They tuned him out. I mean, they have a world-class coach here.
But that happens. I mean, Therrien had been here for a while. I mean, the fact that Julien has only been here for a year makes it more concerning. I mean, all coaches have a shelf life, right, Chris? Guys, no matter how good a coach is or how bad, guys get tired of listening to him. Guys got tired of listening to Scotty Bowman.
He's only been here a year. Yeah. If guys are tired of listening to him, the problem is not with the coaching staff, it's with the guys.
I think right now it's with the players and the coaches, they're much like the fans. They're just frustrated with the way the season's been, and they're just looking forward to April when the season's over and then they can start to rebuild or retool and focus on next year, because right now, you know, nothing's working with them. Every game, it's almost like the same thing happens over and over, and it's just a matter of, I think, both of them just being frustrated that they just can't find a solution.
Yeah, and fans are frustrated too. I have a lot of people telling me, and I'm sure you guys do too, they're not even watching the games anymore. Like, they've tuned out. You know, people have season tickets or just trying to give them away.
Well, that's the problem. When have you heard, of people can't even give away Montreal Canadiens tickets? So that's what it is, that it's just, this season, if it was over now, I think a lot of people would be really happy.
Well, it's going to be interesting for me. There's been empty seats all season at the Bell Center. I think it's going to be really noticeable going forward, because who would want to pay money to go watch these guys right now?
Well, if anyone's having a problem giving away their seats, you can tweet me. I don't mind. I'll take them off your hands. In 25 games this season, defenseman Kerby Rychel has 1 goal, 3 assists, and he's a -1. That's not bad on this team. How come he is a continuous regular scratch?
I scratch my head about that one. I don't know about you, Chris. This is a guy they went and brought from the KHL. He had an adjustment period. They put him in Laval, send him back to, like, if it's still an adjustment period, have him play. Like, how can you he's not playing at all, and, you know, they keep playing these other guys on defense that are, you know, not looking Morrow and Schlemko.
I think he plays Morrow because he had him in Boston. He feels comfortable with him, this coach. As far as Alzner and Schlemko, I mean, come on, the GM signed these.
Well, Alzner's going to play.
No,
you don't
these
sign.
are the guys
the GM's going to
in
make
the offseason. You're going to bench him.
The GM's going to make sure Alzner plays. That's for sure.
Again, he's an easy guy to sit out, and you're not going to hear any. Hey, just be happy you're here, kid.
Well, it gets back to what we were saying before. It's an easy guy to sit out, and that doesn't necessarily make it the right decision.
Schlemdog millionaire. An even bigger head scratcher is Daniel Carr. This guy has 4 goals, 7 assists in 19 games. If he played a full season at this point in the season, he'd be in 4th place on the Habs scoring sheet. How come he doesn't get to play more?
Someone must not like him in the organization. I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know why the kid doesn't play. You know, he comes in, he has good games, he gets assists, he scores some goals, and then he comes in a game and he doesn't create anything. He's another easy guy to sit out.
And I think coaches and GMs have their favorites, and unfortunately Daniel Carr doesn't seem to be one of those favorites. But if I was him, I would be so frustrated in this situation. It's like, what more do you want? Yeah. It's not like the other guys are outperforming you. You're outperforming them, and then you're the one stuck watching the game in the press box.
Well, again, as we said about Jerabek, if you're not going to play him, send him back to Laval and let the kid play. I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the season. He wants to play somewhere else. I mean, Brendan Gallagher grew up with Daniel Carr. They've played against each other from the time they were 5 years old. And Gallagher told me, he says, every league that Daniel Carr has ever played at, all he does is score. Like, he finds a way to score. He goes to the dirty areas. He does everything that Claude Julien says he wants his forwards to do, and most of them don't. He does it. And I can't figure out why he's a healthy scratch so many games. The kid works his butt off. He's a little slow maybe, but I think he compensates for that with his work ethic. And he has a nose for the net. And on a team that can't score, how do you keep a guy who can score sitting in the press box watching? And again, like I said, if you don't have a use for him, send him to Laval and let the kid. He was playing great in Laval, lighting it up. Laval team's terrible. They might be even worse than the Canadiens. I really don't understand. And Chris is right. I think somebody in the organization, and I think it has to be the GM, because Juliens here new. And I remember last year asking Michel Therrien about Daniel Carr, and he said, that kid's a hockey player. Like, he was really, Michel Therrien liked Daniel Carr. He thought he played the way that they want him to play, and I really scratched my head about that
But even when you ask Claude Julien about it, he always just says, oh, what are we going to do? Start questioning every move. It's just Daniel Carr. We can't get into the basics of it. So he doesn't give you an answer. Just say he's not playing because I prefer the way this guy plays. But by dismissing it, it just keeps you scratching your head.
And then you pick up Logan Shaw off waivers.
Easy guy to sit out. That's why he can't explain it. If he was to explain it, that's what he'd say, because he's the easy guy to sit out. I can't sit out Drouin. I can't sit out Galchenyuk. I can't sit out Pacioretty.
But you can't
sit out Carr.
But you can't sit out Logan Shaw or Byron Frazee, who bring no offense. You know. But it's again that Canadiens mentality: defense, 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 defense. Now they're not even good at defense, so you can't score and you're not good at defense. That's why they're such a bad team.
Do you think one of the issues may be that Daniel Carr looks like an overgrown baby?
It's a competition with
shot of him on the screen.
It's a
Take a look at that.
A competition between him and Paul Byron for the baby face.
During the offseason, Marc Bergevin infamously declared that the Habs blue line is going to be better this season than last season. What do you think Carey Price would have to say about that at this point in the year?
Probably the same thing he had to say about it at the beginning of the year, that no, that is not true. You can tell someone the sky is green as many times as you want, but everyone knows it actually is blue. And this is really the situation with Marc Bergevin. And I think he rolled the dice on that one, hoping that certain guys would play a little bit higher than their expectations or come and perform like they haven't performed in other years. But that's not the case right now, and everyone can see that's a huge glaring issue. And that's why certain players aren't playing as well as you've seen them before, because they're not, number one or number two defensemen. They're supposed to be the 5 or 6 guy, and they're playing out of position.
I think Carey Price's body language says a lot about what he thinks about this defense now. His body language has not been good the last little while. The time he got up and he fired the puck out, by himself out of the zone. Like, if you guys can't do it, I'm going to do it, type of thing. And I think that's a big concern moving forward with the guy who's got an 8-year contract. I think when he signed the new contract, I don't think he expected this was going to be the defense playing in front of him, or the forwards playing in front of him, for that matter. This is not the team I think that Carey Price thought he would be playing behind.
I think that's the case with a lot of guys. Same with Pacioretty. I think Max Pacioretty was hoping that this GM would go get a centerman at some point, right, for him.
Yeah.
They thought it was Galchenyuk. It wasn't. Drouin comes in. He's a winger, but a centerman. That. Go back and forth. Listen, I'm not giving Pacioretty a pass. I think he's kind of packed it in with this hockey team, and that's your captain, and that doesn't help the team. But he's another guy who's probably frustrated with what's happened as far as getting a center iceman. You can say Price is frustrated with having no defense in front of him, or a good enough defense in front of him, and then look at the forwards who can score goals. They got no one to give them the puck. There's no center iceman, and that's been the issue for so long. And it's always going to come back to that.
Well, Pacioretty has said more than once, the most frustrating part about this season is that it was avoidable. Yeah. But he hasn't followed up on why it was avoidable. But I think if you read between the lines, that if Alexander Radulov was here, if Markov was here, if they had a center, if he had spent the $8 million in salary cap money they didn't spend.
Alexander Radulov, said it last year. We love seeing him play. He brought a whole lot of energy. The ship has sailed. It's sailed, and that certainly really hamstrung this team from the get-go this year, along with the way the goaltender was playing.
Well, and then they're going to go into the free agent market, and Marc Bergevin is going to say, "Oh, guys don't want to come here. Radulov wanted to play here." And it's going to. We were talking about Tavares earlier. Like, why would John Tavares want to come to Montreal?
Honestly,
it would make no
sense.
sense.
I also don't think it's great when the GM says, "Guys don't want to come here." Like you have to, twist it, spin it.
Yeah, every time Radulov is brought up, it makes me sad. That is our show for today. We want to thank you all for tuning in. If you could send Marc Bergevin a belated Valentine's Day gift, what would it be? Let us know in the comments section below. I'm Adam Susser, and we'll see you back here next Thursday.